I'm Jaclyn Johnson.
And I'm Marina Middleton.
And this is WorkParty, a podcast that's part work
and part party.
WorkParty celebrates a new generation of women who are redefining the meaning of work on their own terms and having fun while doing it.
In this podcast, we are diving into all the areas of being a working woman: mind, body, and business. No topic is off limit.
Real talk and hot takes. Think of us as your internet work wives. This is WorkParty,
the podcast.
Wait, where's the champagne?
Jeni is the founder of Jeni's Ice Cream, but she is on to her second move in her career, which I'm so excited to dive into. She is now the founder of Floura Co. You guys might have seen it around and been eating it. Jeni's latest game-changing venture, and this isn't just another food brand. It's a full-on movement to tackle food waste and fix America's fiber crisis at the same time. The mission, upcycle 100 million pounds of produce that would otherwise go to waste and turn into delicious fiber-packed foods that help people eat better effortlessly. So let's welcome Jeni.
Woo! All right, hey guys.
I'm so excited to be here. I was just saying to Jeni, we've known each other for a long time, and I haven't gotten to catch up with you on this new company.
Yeah, so we're catching up now.
We're catching up now. So you guys are just in on our private group chat at this point, which is amazing. So I want to tell you're a visionary, no doubt. Like, you're a flavor master, you're all these things, but you're always thinking bigger picture, about the world, the impact, and everything that you're doing. I had no idea about this crisis that, what's happening in the world. Can you tell us a little bit what motivated you to take that and build something to fix it?
Yeah, it's like a lot of entrepreneurs. I think there's like entrepreneur thinking is sort of like it's not linear. It's kind of like everything all at once, kind of web thinking, and everything kind of connects, but it's all in different directions, and it kind of comes together. And that's what happened to me with Floura. When I was able to step away from the day-to-day at Jeni's, I'm still involved, but I'm not there every day like I was for 26 years of my life. I had to figure out how to take care of myself and who I was outside of Jeni's. And I realized that I really hadn't been taking care of myself at all. How many of you guys are entrepreneurs? So we don't take care of ourselves very well.
Yeah, it's so true.
We don't. And actually, that's part of I wouldn't say that that's part of the fun. That's not true. We're having so much fun, and it's also, of course, brutally difficult. But it's an adventure that feels like inspired and impassioned. And I loved doing that so much, but I never paused to take care of myself. In fact, I think I was using all realms of my being like a box of tissues and just going and going and going. And when I was able to step away from day-to-day at Jeni's, I learned this really fast because I started to realize I'm not healthy on any realm of being, not physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. I don't know who I am outside of this company. And I'd use my physical body too in that way. And I had never been an athlete in school. I never was actually just healthy, I think. And I came from struggle, like so many entrepreneurs come from struggle early, go into entrepreneurship, and we're running hard. So what I did, I think naturally, which was kind of weird, but I started walking a lot in the forest because that's where I go for just all health. That's where I always go. It's my happy place. It's my temple. And I started eating a lot of fruit. And I didn't actually think that was healthy necessarily, because when you look at social media, it's like fruit is high in sugar, you shouldn't be eating fruit. I mean, all the messages are actually different. And I was suddenly feeling really good. I was actually eating a ton of blueberries. And I told my business advisor, Mark, who's kind of my coach, and at that point had become kind of my friend, I was like, I feel so good, and something's happening, and I'm eating all these blueberries. And he was like, that's fiber. And the way that you process sugar is different when you're eating the whole fruit. So I started to look into that. And this is where I get back to that sort of web thinking. It's this is how it evolves. You're like, oh, okay, so then your curiosity is piqued because you had a huge change. And now all my friends are like, oh my God, you look so much better. I'm 47 years old, and I look better than I did when I was 35, And I'm like, wow, it's literally walking a lot and fiber. And it's not like I'm in the gym all the time or, have a restrictive diet. I'm just eating tons and tons and tons of fruit. So then it's we just start kind of peeling away the onion. Then we get to this massive produce company in Virginia, or I keep saying Virginia today for some reason, it must be on my mind, Vineland, New Jersey. And it's 600,000 square feet, and we were helping another entrepreneur, and we saw all this produce being trimmed and all of the watermelon rind going out, all of the apple cores going out. And I remembered my grandmother pickling watermelon rind. And I had remembered some of the research that I had read while I was trying to figure out why I feel so good. And I read a paper on watermelon rind and how watermelon rind is super high in prebiotic fiber and is really, really good for you. And we should be eating a lot more of the rind than we do. And in times past, we definitely would have eaten a lot more of these. I mean, even like, I think there's a lot of grandparents out there. I was actually talking to one last night in LA, of all places, and they was like, yeah, I eat all of the apple, you know, like, I don't know if anybody else has grandparents that like literally are always telling about eating the entire fruit. We just don't do that anymore, but it's so good for you. So yeah,
fascinating. I had no
go.
idea. That's amazing.
Yeah, so amazing.
Everything all at once.
So you've obviously built an iconic brand before, but Floura is a huge, totally different beast. What would you say is the biggest difference between building and launching an ice cream empire and starting a functional food company?
I mean, it's very different on many fronts too, because at Jeni's I started in the farmers market and grew very slowly and learned slowly how to do everything myself. I was in Ohio, I still am in Ohio, and so which was really a benefit because I didn't have the pressures of other places. I think sometimes, you know, places like LA or New York can be very specific in how they want things to go, and in Ohio I could just figure out my own way. Over many years, which is how we learned to do ice cream differently and to take stabilizers out of ice cream and to work with milk proteins at the dairy by the way we homogenize and the way we pasteurize. And that time that we took really became the brand that we built. Without that time, I would never have made those discoveries. I would have loved to grow faster, but we couldn't because we didn't have money and we were just growing one cone at a time, and that actually ended up being a benefit. At Floura, we really want to grow fast because we're working with this massive produce company. We have a lot of product that we can make. Now we spent 2 years trying to figure out the back end and make all of that. And so we're doing it very differently. We're fundraising. Yeah. So we're in it the way that the modern entrepreneur is in it. I mean, I feel like I started Jeni's kind of before people were talking about, you know, what seed round is, or A, B, and C rounds.
I love this so much because I think it's a theme of the conversations we've been having. 10-plus-year-old entrepreneurs like myself, like yourself, fundraising wasn't a thing when you started the company. Like, it absolutely was not a conversation we were having. So we were bootstrapping, working so hard, and to your point, not taking care of ourselves, putting everything into the business that we had, blood, sweat, and tears, and building these things. And now a lot of us are onto our second life, and coming at it, we're like, we're taking care of ourselves, we're raising money, like we're not doing it the way we did it before. So what did you learn from that first company that you're taking with you? What are you leaving behind?
I mean, I'm taking many things. I mean, there are every element of the business. I mean, into the details of like how, you know, grocery works, for instance. I mean, there's just so many, you know, just cost engineering the product before we actually get on shelf. I mean, at Jeni's we didn't do that. We just you know, we're making ice creams in the farmers market and then started to sell at Whole Foods, and it was just not engineered to be at Whole Foods from a cost perspective or a recipe perspective. Nothing really worked, and it took like a decade to figure that out because the grocery is so complex that when you get into it and then you get kicked off, it takes you a long time to get back into it. So it can take like a decade if you're making mistakes. But we had to learn those lessons, and I think I learned deeper because I learned them firsthand. So at Floura, we can do all of this stuff in reverse, get that all tightened up before we ever even launched. And that has been huge for us. I mean, at Jeni's, we built the brand over time. It seems like we're like known for our brand now, but that was just me and, you know, was just like, you know, an art kid with some friends, and we slowly just made it over time as a two-way conversation with our customers. And so it'll continue to do that at Floura, where we've launched our brand, but we'll continue to learn from there. But there's just all sorts of little things. I still think too, now I'm 51, so looking back, I can say, you know, like, I can see that my gut was almost always right, not always, but almost always right. So now when I'm in it, I can say, you know, my instinct says we should do this, and do it, because I can trust it. And back then I was just, you know, when I was younger, it's like you have to earn that instinct, I think.
I love that. I'm curious, what are the lessons that you're taking from ice cream company to now Floura?
Well, I mean, Floura is a nutritional bar, so it's concentrated nutrition, concentrated fiber, and it's got 12 plants in it. And so, you know, but what's missing, I think, in fact, I think the bar aisle actually looks a lot like the ice cream aisle in like 2007, which is to say that it's a lot of dark colors, a lot of like burgundies, dark greens, browns, ivory. And when we showed up in the ice cream aisle, our colors were brighter. It still looks like that, like the sun is only shining on Jeni's, or the sun is only shining on Floura in a way. And so I think from that perspective, I think we can bring some color and some like sort of excitement there. And I think also, to be honest, a little bit of feminine energy to the bar aisle, or a lot, just like we did with ice cream. And then also, of course, flavors, not just the 5 flavors that we have out right now, which are definitely inspired by ice cream, but also limited edition flavors, because we are making our bars in our facility. We can do whatever flavors we want to whenever we want. We're not having them co-packed for us, which is how the bar business really works. So we can do limited edition flavors the same way we did with ice cream. We want you to eat these every day if you can't get fiber from other sources. And so if we want you to eat it every day, we should have a variety of options, I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. And so talk to us about product development, because you're working with some scraps, the rinds, all these different things. Tell us how you got to the flavors that you made, and if you could talk about the flavors that you currently have and how product development has been working.
Yeah, so we take, we like to say we harvest inside of this 600,000 square foot produce processing company. Like if you're buying cut produce at a store, it may have come from this place, watermelon and mangoes and so on, pineapple. So we can harvest like apple cores from that process right off of the line and make them into an apple paste, which becomes the base of our bar. Most bars are date paste, and that comes from other countries, and ours are just from upstate New York apples. And then we're taking watermelon rind and actually wild fermenting it, and then dehydrating it. So just like what your great-grandmother might have done in her kitchen, dehydrating it, milling it into a flour. We have cantaloupe, honeydew, pineapple, and mango skins, and those also become a flour. Just dehydration and milling them.
This is crazy. I'm learning so much.
It's so goofy because, I mean, it's really, it is sort of that like peeling back the onion. We're like, oh, there's these ingredients. Well, what can we do with these? Maybe an ice cream maker can make them taste good. And it was just like going in and trying it. I mean, we need this space to just try stuff. And so the produce company gave us space to do this. And we spent 2 years there. We started with a pancake mix, which we love, by the way. I love our pancake mix so much. I don't think it'll ever be out on the market because it was too expensive to make. And also, there's just not a market for it. But we made a cake mix. We made chocolate cookies. We made all sorts of different things. Pizza dough before we settled on bars. But we just, it took us 2 years to kind of figure out how to use these ingredients. And then we were working with nutritionists and scientists from Ohio State University and functional medicine practitioners to make sure that our ingredients were like met the highest standards, even if our customers don't quite get that, because most of us don't have time to research all of this. We do. And that was really important for us. And then on top of that, the flavors were easy. You know, it was like, you know, we just go with what we know already people love. And what's interesting about that, just lastly, is that all 5 of our flavors right now are like equally popular, which if you're an ice cream maker, this is very hard to do. So I feel like it's a little bit of a moment, like a skills moment where I'm like, okay, this is good. I don't think it's gonna stay that way though, because we have a chocolate coming out.
No,
and,
you guys don't
that's
understand.
gonna,
Jeni
like,
is a
you know,
mad scientist. Like the way that she figures out how to make flavors is crazy. Like you'll just taste something and be like, I need to make ice cream out of that. So it's insane.
or even like the scent.
Yes,
the
the
scent of,
scent.
like,
Well,
wherever, you know.
that's how
You know,
she
we
started.
were in Napa together, and there was like we were doing yoga, and I couldn't. There was like all these scents coming in, and I couldn't concentrate on the yoga because it was like every time the wind was blowing, it would be a different scent. It was a beautiful day.
Yeah. Oh, that was so fun.
It was really
anyway.
fun.
I love it. So one of the hardest things about launching a new category is getting people to care. What have you learned about consumer behavior when it comes to getting people to actually be excited about fiber and upcycling?
I mean, I'll be honest, we're still learning big time because we just launched in January, and I have no idea. Ice cream's really easy compared to fiber, but
Right.
fiber is probably the least sexy thing in food. And or in the you know, just anything consumable, and so so we're learning, but we've learned a lot already. You know, first of all, people don't understand that prebiotic is a fiber. Prebiotic fibers are fibers, and they're really good for you, and they're the fibers that feed your microbiome. So we cannot go overboard with all that stuff because it doesn't make sense to most people. We have to sort of stick with this message that fiber makes you feel better, makes you look better, makes you live longer, you know, just makes you show up. And so we're kind of learning. And then also I think in the end, it just has to be about like, you know, we have to reach the people who kind of know, the sort of early adopters, if you want to call them that, and then let that sort of radiate out into communities. But still learning very much because I want to tell everybody everything. And nobody has the bandwidth to listen to that whole spiel, you know?
I mean, I'm interested. But I just want to say, like, so you're diverting 100 million pounds. You found this facility, and you're really creating an impact-driven business, mission-driven, sustainable, which, again, when we were starting companies was not top of mind, I think, for a lot of people. And a lot of these bigger companies now are having to reverse engineer the way that they do business to fit into that. But you have the unique advantage to do it from the very beginning. Can you talk a little bit about that mission and how it's a big one and how you're going to get there?
Well, it's also interesting because if we had to grow these ingredients for us, we still would use them because they're the best ingredients for your microbiome, for fiber. So it actually is like this win-win. At Jeni's, we always compost. We're a B Corp. We're always thinking through that lens. And I think sometimes also as maybe the feminine or women, sort of that's kind of how we approach things. Like how can we make this like sort of work on a whole bunch of fronts all at once? So it wasn't that I set out to do like a sustainable company at all. It was more like this is just how we think. And so if wow, these ingredients are leaving and wow, there's really good for you. So how can we make them work? But since we're doing that, why not set a big goal and make it a part of our mission to actually divert what would become waste and try to do it on a massive, massive scale. We're really trying to tackle two things: chronic illness, chronic disease in America, which all roads lead to fiber, the lack of fiber in our industrial food system, and waste. And so produce waste, this is all fresh produce. We should be eating it, but right now we throw it away. So.
So we obviously know that you are a genius when it comes to starting businesses. So let's just dive into some advice for entrepreneurs and innovators. So a lot of founders dream of launching something that changes the industry, but getting from an idea to execution is very hard. We talk about this all the time through a lot of our panels. What's your advice for someone who wants to disrupt a space like you have done with Floura?
I mean, if you're really disrupting, you have to give it time. It almost never can do it overnight. I mean, you can come in and put another brand on something that somebody's already done and call it disruption, but that's not the same thing. If you're really disrupting something, you have to allow people to learn about it, and you have to stick with it. And that was true in ice cream, even though obviously we didn't invent ice cream, but we just created a new style and a new way of thinking about it and doing it and serving people. And it's definitely going to be true in Floura. And so there's a lot of pressure, and I'm feeling it because we all are in this era, that when you launch a company, it has to happen in like 2 weeks. Like it has to be like 0 to 60 in 2 weeks. It does not. And don't ever let anybody make you feel that way, because it does not. Building a brand takes decades. I think you have to get into it for at least a decade, and you have to really, really commit to it to get to that level. It isn't overnight, and it shouldn't be. And if those brands do that, and there are brands that will do that, they don't necessarily have the longevity to stay in that place, and that's really hard too. So I think you have to still think about it as one person at a time. It's not just something you can do on the internet. You have to get out and actually talk to people in person, one person at a time. It's a street game.
You were early to do that, and you said you were at farmers markets, starting really early, getting feedback on how everything was
That's
working.
how you learn.
Yeah, that's how you learn.
Yeah.
But one of the things about Jeni's, so you talk to anyone, you're like, oh, Jeni's ice cream. Immediately they're like, Jeni's? I love Jeni's. This is my flavor, Brambleberry Crisp, whatever it is. Like, they love it. And you have a very sticky brand that people obsess over, right? And that they know and love. How did you create that? Or are there any like little magical things that you can bring? And are you bringing any of that into Floura?
Definitely. So at Jeni's, I really, really, I studied art, or I did art, and left art school to make ice cream. So it was always really important to me, like the way we communicate it and the colors we use and the photography and all of it, poetry. Sometimes we even made music. You can find Jeni's Company Band on Spotify. But the thing is, like, for me, we were early in the idea of like bringing it all in-house. And it was really important to me to have our design and copywriting and photography and everything in-house, and ice cream, everything on the same team. Because even if it's not as polished, let's say, as other, like a firm might make it, it's from our hearts, and it's what we want to say to the world. And so that whole team, that's about 7 people, they're still there. I've worked with them for more than 10 years. Are responsible for everything in the company, for that sort of what the ice creams, the flavors we're doing each year, each season, the photography, the graphic design, the pints, all of that. And I feel like that is important to me also at Floura. We work with a beautiful studio called Studio Libro in Sydney, Australia. And she's our designer. So she's not in-house, but she kind of operates like an in-house designer. She and I kind of think on the same wavelength. But I think that, being able to speak directly to your customers and working with people who get that is the most important when it comes to building a brand. Visual brand.
Yeah, and
That
you've
is.
always done that so well. One thing also is Jeni's a master at strategic partnerships. So a good example of this is your collab with Tyler, the creator, that you did with Jeni's ice cream. Like such a cool collab. And then we were all in Napa together, as she mentioned, and we met the Shandon team that has sparkling wine. And then they did a collab together because, again, you're out in the world, you're having these conversations. Are you going to be doing any collab strategic partnerships with Floura?
I mean, I think that will be really fun. We're not ready for that yet, but I think it'll be really fun to do it. And I was talking with somebody in the beauty industry, and I was like, fiber is like, it really makes your skin look better, like when you're eating fiber. So like, stuff like that could be really fun too. And because again, we can make our bars, like we make ice cream, we can make whenever we want, we can do a new flavor. That's how you can do these fun collaborations, just kind of one-off, like see what people love. But it'd be fun. Just having fun, I think.
Yeah. I love that. And that shows from everything that you're creating is just like you're actually enjoying what you're doing. So the startup journey obviously is full of highs and lows. Can you share a moment that maybe didn't go as planned and kind of how did you pivot?
I mean, if anybody's followed my career, there are many moments. There are massive moments. There are many moments that didn't go. Probably more moments that actually, without question, more moments that didn't go the way we wanted them to than that went the way that we wanted them to. But I'll just tell you a really funny one because I think it's so embarrassing.
Correct.
When I was, I definitely think like an artist still. And we were doing a holiday collection, and I called it Dark Holiday. So I had this idea that like not everybody wants to be happy in the holidays. Like not everybody is happy during the holidays. Sometimes it's like a depressing time. Which is true.
Very true.
Apparently, I was having a
Can't wait
bad
to see where you're
season.
going with this.
We did Dark Holiday. So we had these incredible flavors, but they were like meant to evoke like the weight of time. And so it was like cumin, honey, butterscotch, which was fantastic. Cedar wood, like beautiful big flavors, black forest cake. And it was a very dark.
So dark.
Everything was very dark. We had you know how you make these like normally they would be bright and colorful paper chains in your stores, like we had black. It was very goth.
It was a Nightmare Before Christmas vibes.
Yeah, except that would have been cute.
Yeah.
No, this was like
It was
Dungeon
darker.
Christmas or something. And I don't know, maybe I was like feeling it or whatever. I was just I was feeling empathy for people who were just going through it in a Christmas time. But so in our Chagrin Falls is like the sweetest little town outside of Cleveland in Ohio, and it's just idyllic. They have the best hardware shop you'll ever go to, and it's just like the greatest town. And like I had my dark holiday decor up, and the women of the town were like, "Yeah, no, we're not going there." No, they were. So I get a call from the store, and they're like, "Is it okay if they bring a Christmas tree and like lights and all this stuff in and whatever?" And I was like, "Yes, it is okay." And I just had this moment of like, I got it. It just clicked. I realized like the holidays are times you can't mess with. That this is like our landmark of the year. Even if you're having a bad holiday, you still need it to be the same way that it always is. Otherwise, you lose your orientation with the world. And so it just hit me that like, yeah, we can't change everything. We can't appeal to everybody. Yeah. We have to sometimes kind of roll with it. So it was actually an awesome learning, and I just laugh so hard about it.
That's so funny.
Kind of ridiculous.
I love it. So when it comes to Floura, like 5 years, 10 years, like what's the dream vision for the business? Will you be expanding in other products? Are you looking to do direct to consumer, retail, like all the things?
I mean, we can make anything because we are the fiber company. So we can make anything out of these ingredients that we make. So that is yet to be determined, but we do want to impact chronic illness in America. We do want to help reverse that. We do think that fiber is the new protein. We do want people eating more fiber, and if you can't get fiber, eat Floura. So it's massive. I mean, at Jeni's, we think, when you're selling, as we are at Floura too, an under $5 item or something around that, you want to grow, you want to be at scale, you're not just, you're moving culture at this point because you have to sell so many a day. We get 100,000 people through our stores every day in the summertime. At Jeni's, it's like when that happens, you're actually shaping and shifting culture, and you have to think that way. And so that's how we're thinking at Floura. It's big,
I love calling it the fiber company, so genius, because it really allows you to do whatever you want long term, create that bandwidth. That's like a good lesson, I think, for entrepreneurs is obviously launching with one product, like a hero product that you're known for is a great strategy, but not pigeonholing yourself to just doing that, and how you can build beyond that. And really the core of the product being the fiber, I think is genius. As always, you're so smart.
All right, before we dive into fireside questions, rapid fire questions, for people who are hyped about what you're doing, how can they support Floura and get involved?
Well, I mean, you can buy Floura bars on our website. We will not be in grocery until later this year. I mean, we're creating that strategy and that hustle right now as we speak, but that will continue to radiate out into America. Follow us, of course, on Instagram and encourage us. Tell us flavors that you want to see. Like, just have a conversation with us. We want to hear from you. Also, I'd love to hear how it's affecting you. You know, I eat a lot. We all do. We eat a lot of supplements. We take a lot of things in our lives that we think are going to make us feel better. But I always question, like, is it really making me feel better? But I promise you, when you eat enough fiber, you will feel it, whether it's a Floura bar or not. So I want to hear like those kinds of things too. How is fiber impacting your life, making you feel better? Right now that would be amazing. And also, if you know anybody with a whole bunch of money and they want to give it to us, we'll
Also,
take
that
too.
would be great.
And
No,
that.
we should talk. We should definitely talk. 'Cause
Okay.
I do know a few
perfect.
people who with a lot of money who love fiber. No, so let's do some rapid fire.
Rapid fire. I like that.
Rapid fire. let's ride.
Fireside, rapid chat.
I know you threw me off. Okay, so what's your favorite Jeni's flavor of all time?
Well, that's not an easy question, but if I'm eating it at home, it's brown butter almond brittle. But if I'm in the stores, it's the lemon bar, which is our non-dairy. Actually, it's a coconut cream.
Why
I
the
love it so much.
difference?
Well, I like that one on a cone. I
Okay.
will eat all ice cream on a cone.
Fair.
If I'm in a store, and sometimes at home too. But at home, mostly it's just out of a pint, like everybody else.
Obsessed. If you could upcycle any food item into something brand new, what would it be?
Watermelon rinds?
I mean, who knew?
Upcycle, yeah.
So exciting. Okay, what's one business tool you swear by? Like something you use every day, whether it's an app or anything like that?
One business tool?
Yes.
I mean, I don't know. My phone. It's like if I get it to go to bed and I'm like on my phone less than 12 hours, I do everything on my phone. I actually wrote all my books on my phone, even like
That's
from like
insane.
2010.
So, like not a laptop?
So I have a laptop now, but I almost never have in my entire life. So I've done everything on my phone.
My
even
fingers
my
are cramping
books.
just
Yeah,
thinking
I
about that.
can't
That's
see
crazy.
And
on my
I'm a
phone.
one-finger
I need-
typer.
I need big screens. I have like 12 screens to work. Like
Everything's phone for me.
Okay, if you could describe your entrepreneurial journey in one word, what would it be?
Frodo.
Perfect. Amazing. I love it. Thank you so much, Jeni, for being here. Can we give it
Thank
up
you,
for
guys.
Jeni?
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Work Party. If you like what you heard, follow, leave a review, rate the pod, or slide into our DMs.
Check out the different ways you can create and cultivate on our website, createcultivate.com. From retreats and masterminds to our summits and festival
We have different experiences to support you through your entrepreneurial journey from launch.
to legacy.
Follow us at Create Cultivate on all platforms, and don't forget, work hard.
Party on.
Please note that this episode may contain paid endorsements and advertisements for products and services. Individuals on the show may have a direct or indirect financial interest in products or services referred to in this episode.